What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron. It's the morning after a 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Week 7 is now behind us, and it's time to get our waiver wire claims in. So today, I am going to talk through my must-add waiver wire targets for Week 8 of the fantasy football season. These players are all under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. We're going to talk about the high-end guys that you have to go out there and grab, splurge all your fab on, and then also players at every position that I am looking to grab and sneak on the back end of my rosters. Now, I will say this is like not the best week of all time for waiver wire ads, but it's pretty decent. It's a sneaky good week of waiver wire, especially for this deep in the season when we usually don't get anything that crazy. So, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and let's get right into my priority ads. Now, the way that priority ads work is these are players that I would bid 10% or more of my fab budget on when waiver wire ads and claims roll through. And the way that I do these videos is that this is just me kind of jotting players down in each of these categories. And then I go over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart, and I write a waiver wire article for the subscribers over there where I go through every single player ranked at every position, and I say exactly how much fab I'm bidding on each player, along with a little blurb of stats or just how I feel about each player. You can find that in the description or the comment section down below. Now, with Oronde Gadsden, the second, he had a monstrous game. He had 9 targets, 7 catches, 164 yards. He crushed the rookie receiver report that we can look at here, where if we find where Gadsden is right below Jack Besh and right above Jalen Lane, you can see that he has gone from 61% of the routes up to 77%, and then he stayed at 77% when Quentin Johnston was back in the lineup. And that is what's absolutely huge, is that even with Quentin Johnston healthy, even with Ladd McConkey there and Keenan Allen there, he still had 164 receiving yards, the most receiving yards for a rookie tight end since 2000 in a single game. It is nuts. His per out numbers are nuts. 19.3% targets per out run, 2.2 yards per out run, 9.3% first downs per out run, and a rookie leading 79.3 PFF grade. He looks like Darren Waller. He's attached to Justin Herbert in a pass-first offense. It's fair to wonder on a weekly basis how consistent will he be in such a crowded passing offense, but there's going to be a lot of attempts. Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback, and Gadsden in a sea of mid tight ends, right? Again, after the top 7, we always talk about this. The top 7 in any order of Bowers, Kittle, Kraft, Warren, Laporta, Ferguson. I'm missing Trey McBride. Those are the 7. And then tight end 8 through 15 can be whatever. Gadsden slides firmly into that territory. If you are somebody who has had Brock Bowers issues, or you've had Juwan Johnson fizzle out on you, or you just haven't been able to get tight end right, I do think Gadsden is the number 1 ad this week to be a difference maker at tight end. Now, somebody else that's out there in a ton of leagues right now is Bam Knight. He is rostered in 23.8% of ESPN leagues. Now, I will say, disclaimer, he's on bye this week. Something to really understand in Week 8 when all these teams are on bye is knowing who's on bye, so you don't go out and grab Bam Knight expecting him to slot into your lineup right away. He's somebody who's going to sit on your bench for a week, but when he comes back, it's not bad. He's had decent usage over the last 2 weeks. He's somebody that you can at least put in your RB2 spot and feel sort of decent about, right? He had, when we look at the Fantasy Life utilization report, he had the most snaps in this backfield. He had 58% of the rush attempts, which is huge. Ran some routes, 9.4 PPR points as a top 20 running back on the week. It's nothing crazy, but he is the lead running back in an NFL offense, and that does mean something. Now, we'll also talk about Tez Johnson. I do hate that we don't get, and it's not like anybody's fault, it's just kind of how the cycle goes. PFF hasn't dropped like yards per out run and the PFF grades and everything for Tez Johnson, so I can't really show you the rookie receiver report for Tez Johnson, but he had 9 targets in this game, 4 catches, 58 yards, a touchdown last night after scoring a touchdown in the week before that. He's a rookie. He presents league-winning rookie upside. And the thing about Tez Johnson, which is fun, is sort of similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown. If we want to squint and kind of look for who are these guys that can come out of nowhere and be league winners, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it wasn't totally the reason why he fell in the draft, but he was a little bit slower, not as athletic as he could have been at the combine, and then he fell to day 3. Similar deal with Tez Johnson, who really should have been a second or third round pick, but he failed the combine like in a spectacular fashion, if we're being honest, where he comes in, he weighs like under 170 pounds, he runs like a 4.5 or a 4.6. He just came in small and slow, and NFL teams don't enjoy that, but game speed and NFL combine speed are two different things, and Tez Johnson looks the part. Mike Evans out for the year. Tez Johnson goes on bye week here, so that's something else to remember on top of this is Tez Johnson's going to be on bye. You can't play him this week, but he's a great stash for a post-rookie bye bump where we can get Emeka Egbuka, and then Tez Johnson is their next best option. Chris Godwin's been hurt the entire year. Sterling Shepard is kind of so-so. Then we can also talk about, in terms of priority ads, Kyle Monangai here. He had a season high, I believe, 46% of the snaps. This is the rookie running back carousel here. We can look at where Kyle Monangai was this week. Kyle Monangai went from a bye week, 31% of the snaps, to 46% of the snaps. Now, you could say, was it a little bit of garbage time versus Saints? A little bit, but it wasn't that out of hand. Swift came into this week banged up, but Monangai looked the part. He's somebody that hasn't been like amazing, but if he's going to get into like a 60-40 split in this Bears offense, he had 13 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. He had 3 targets. He's a great handcuff who's now kind of trending towards standalone starter type upside. And then our last priority ad this week is Jackson Dart. He shouldn't be available, but he is available in like 57% of ESPN leagues right now. If you're in a league that's maybe like shallow, maybe like an 8 to 10 teamer, you're looking for a quarterback. Since he got the start in week 4, he is the QB4 in fantasy points. He is kind of a cheat code where he gives you a lot of production on the ground, and I think Jackson Dart is just somebody that you can kind of start regardless of matchup pretty much every week. Like, really my only concern with Jackson Dart is getting hurt and leaving a game early. Like, kind of a similar vibe to Justin Fields, where my concern with Fields is what we just saw, where he gets benched for Tyrod Taylor. Dart, I'm not scared he's going to get benched, but I'm scared he's going to go to the blue medical tent and give you like 7 points in a week. But that's just like a small concern for a pretty fun player if you need a quarterback. I just wanted to see what Dart's game logs are in terms of rushing. The crazy part is, against the Broncos, his rushing wasn't that great. 5 carries, 11 rushing yards, both season lows, but he scored a rushing touchdown anyway. So he has 3 rushing touchdowns in his last 4 games. He is, similar to Daniel Jones in the Vanilla Vic comp. But then we can just get to our normal ads. These are guys at the running back position, wide receivers we'll talk about in a second, tight ends and quarterbacks we'll talk about in a second. Guys that I wouldn't bid a ton on, but guys you can just get once waiver wire rolls through, put them on your team, do a $0 bid. Tyler Algier is somebody that if you wanted to go big on, you absolutely could. I doubt he's available in your league, but still, this ESPN number is insane, 36% owned. He's the Bijan handcuff, and in home games when they win, he usually scores a touchdown. It's kind of what his season has been for Tyler Algier. Then we have Brashard Smith. If you want to look at the rookie running back report or the rookie running back carousel, you can see Brashard Smith, 8% of the snaps, 10%, and then 36%. I will say, though, he got, I want to say, a lot of his usage. I wanted to say, I think most of his opportunities came on, 3 drives without Patrick Mahomes even in this game. So I wouldn't run with 19 opportunities and say, well, it's Brashard Smith time. It's really just more so stash Brashard Smith. You're just hoping for late season, I think it was 2022, Jerick McKinnon style upside. Then we can also touch on Tyjae Spears, where this is just like an ugly split, but at the same time, any running back that's going to fluctuate between 40% to 60% of the snaps in an offense, Tyjae Spears should be rostered. Both of these Titans running backs are pretty brutal, but if Pollard was to go down, Tyjae Spears would be pretty good. We can also talk about Isaiah Davis here. Braylon Allen opted for surgery pretty late here. It seems like he's going to be out for the year. Breece Hall got banged up in this game. Breece Hall is in the center of trade talks again. As a Jets fan, I'd be shocked if Breece Hall actually gets traded, especially with Braylon Allen out for the year. But if he does, Isaiah Davis does have a ton of upside. Then Brian Robinson, just very simply, McCaffrey's handcuff. If he's on waivers, he should be on your bench because McCaffrey goes down. Brian Robinson would be a top 24 start every week. Then we have Jaden Blue as our last running back here. He's coming off his best game as a pro in the rookie running back carousel. You can see here he goes from 9% of the snaps to 24%. It was garbage time, but he did have 7 carries for 29 yards. 4.1 yards per carry is really strong for him after showing pretty much nothing the entire year. Then we can talk about the wide receivers here. And first up is Darnell Mooney. He's probably not out there, but if he is, he's back in the mix. He's healthy. He's not going to win you a league, but he's like a wide receiver 4/flex play that when bye weeks are getting brutal here, you can definitely just slot him in, and his bye week is already behind him, so that's something to think about as well. Then we have Luther Burden, just a rookie upside stash, nothing crazy here. We can see from the rookie receiver report, bye week, 39% of the routes, 33% of the routes, so he's just not getting on the field enough to ever crack your lineup, but the hope is that eventually he does get bumped up. And those per route numbers are really strong. He leads all rookies in targets per out run, yards per out run, 7% first downs per out run is still plenty strong. And then 75.1 PFF grade is the second best behind Gadsden. So Burden has a ton of upside, but he's not somebody that can crack your lineup. So that's something to kind of juggle with some of these rankings is like Mooney is better if you need him right now, but Burden to me is the better long-term stash. Similar deal here where Sterling Shepard's on a long-term stash. He's a right here, right now style player. Mike Evans out for the year. Sterling Shepard should run 80% or more of the routes in every game moving forward, I would assume. Pending when Godwin comes back and pending this Cam Johnson kid being any good. But Sterling Shepard had 7 targets last night and should have some decent volume here and there, but he has been somebody that's kind of a low ceiling, low floor style start. Then we can talk about Kayshon Boutte, who has scored, I believe, in back-to-back weeks. There's clearly a connection between him and Drake May. I want pieces attached to Drake May, right? Yeah, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, but he also hasn't ran 80% or more of the routes since week 1. We really want like 90% plus for like a starting wide receiver in the NFL. The Patriots love to rotate these guys. Kayshon Boutte, yes, he scored a touchdown, but he only had a 9% target share in this game this past week. So he's just like a really tough boom-bust style flex play that won't really have a floor until this wide receiver room can stop rotating into such a deep bag. But like they love to use Mac Hollins and like everybody kind of gets to run routes in this offense. So it does end up hurting Boutte for fantasy. Then we have Xavier Legette. This one, I think that he's going to be a popular ad, but he's not really. I don't see him as a great ad. He has failed until this game. He had 11 targets, 9 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown in this most recent week versus the Jets. Before then, he failed to record a game of over 35 receiving yards or 4 or more receptions the rest of the season. His entire season-long yards per out run is 0.86. That is worse than his rookie year yards per out run of 1.19. Both numbers that are just absolutely terrible. So I'd be stunned if this sticks and Legette's going to have a breakout year here. Maybe. I never want to fully plant my flag on a year 2 breakout not breaking out, but I would be stunned if this is more than a single game occurrence for Xavier Legette. I will say I don't have him on the list, but bonus, add Jalen Coker out there. We've been saying it every week. Jalen Coker is at like a 40% route share. The issue with Legette is now he's just a bigger roadblock for Jalen Coker getting to 90% plus of the routes because Xavier Legette has now kind of earned his keep as a number 2 receiver. So Coker's now even more of a long-term play after waiting on the injury for him to now kind of pass Legette on the depth chart. Then we have Alec Pierce. It's very simple with him. If Josh Downs isn't playing, you play him. If Josh Downs is playing, then you can just pretty safely drop him. This is a good stat from Ryan Heath. Across 4 games without Josh Downs over the past 2 seasons, Alec Pierce is the wide receiver 13 in receiving yards per game, the wide receiver 15 in fantasy points per game, with 23.5% target share or more in 3 of those 4 games without Josh Downs. The issue is Josh Downs only has a concussion, so I don't know that he'll be out that long. Then we have Malik Washington here. Waddle's banged up. Malik Washington is kind of the next guy up in terms of manufacturer touches and being the focal point of this offense, but things are very dark in Miami. And then our last receiver here is Troy Franklin. He had his second best target share of the year at 24%. I don't know that the production was great for Troy Franklin. He had 3 catches, 19 yards, but he did have a touchdown. But he only ran 73% of the routes this past week, his 3rd lowest number of the entire year. So his usage just isn't there enough, but we're getting deep here. It's bye week, hell week, so if you got an issue where you need a receiver, Franklin is definitely an option, but I'm not super confident about him. Then we can talk about my tight ends and quarterbacks. First, my first add at tight end, if Oronde Gadsden's not an option, is Cade Otton. Mike Evans is hurt. He's now Cade Otton is now at 5 or more targets and 10 plus PPR points in each of his last 3 weeks. He's pretty much a fringe top 12 guy rest of season with all of these Buccaneers injuries. Then we have Theo Johnson. He had a season-high 97% route share in this most recent game versus the Broncos, despite Daniel Bellinger scoring a touchdown and kind of being involved. So it wasn't an either-or situation. They were just running 2 tight end sets more often, which is really nice for Theo Johnson that he's out there 97% of the routes. Early in the season, he was more like a 60% guy. If he's going to stick at 97% of the routes or even 80% plus, he is a fine start moving forward. He is the tight end 6 over his last 3 games. Then you have Juwan Johnson. He's been dropped in a lot of places, but Juwan does have 4 straight weeks of 80% or more of the routes. He's coming off a game where he had 7 targets, 5 catches, 79 yards. That's pretty solid, but we'll see. He's not the best start. Then we have Dalton Schultz, who was a sneaky start. Him and Tez Johnson saved our sneaky start video this week. So shout out to that. If you guys don't know, every Friday I do a sneaky start video where I talk about players that are maybe even available on your waiver wire that you can start in that given week and play and feel decently fine about. Dalton Schultz last night had 10 targets, 9 catches, 98 yards for 18.8 PPR points. He is the tight end 6 in points per game over his last 2 games. He's had 6 or more targets in each of his last 4 games. The issue is that he hasn't cracked 75% of the routes over his last 2 games. So he is up and down. We want more of those routes run, but he has been pretty solid in the absence of Cade Stover. And to be honest with you, if Nico Collins is going to be out a game for this concussion, Dalton Schultz will be another great start. Now, this is dumpster diving. If you are in a league where none of those guys are available and you're hurting at tight end, maybe you're in a 14-team or a 16-team tight end premium league, Noah Fant is a fine flyer. He ran 76% of the routes this week for the Bengals. Before the Mike Gesicki injury, he had never even crossed 50%. So Mike Gesicki getting hurt is absolutely massive for Noah Fant, who once upon a time was a first-round pick, fun player. He had 4 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown in that Thursday night game. And then our last ad is purely a stash. If you have the space to stash Colston Loveland, why not? He's not obviously he's not a priority ad. He's nothing crazy, but he is a nice upside option. If your tight end wants Hunter Henry and you have a decent floor there, why not add Loveland for some late season rookie upside? Then we can talk about the quarterbacks. We have Mariota. In his 2 games without Jaden Daniels, he has had 20.3 points and 17.2 points. That's really good for a streamable quarterback. Chiefs are a tough matchup this week for Marcus Mariota if Jaden Daniels can't go, but I think Mariota is kind of matchup proof just given his rushing. Then we have Michael Penix. He plays the Dolphins, who allow the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and he's at home. Penix this year, the story of his season have been home-road splits. At home, he's scored 24, 19.7, and 14.6 in his 3 home starts. I think that'd be an average of around 20 points per game, which is really strong for a streamable quarterback. And then my bottom of the barrel quarterback streamer is Joe Flacco. 25.6 points this past week. He looks good. He's throwing the ball to Jamar Chase, and now he gets the Jets in kind of a sneaky revenge game here. That he used to be on the Jets for a little bit. The Jets are kind of neutral. They allow the 14th most points to quarterbacks. Their defense sucks, but their offense doesn't score enough to force the opposing offense to want to score more points. But Joe Flacco might just spam Jamar Chase and throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and be a fine weekly streamer. But that's going to do it for us today. Again, I'm going to upload this video, and then I'm going to write my waiver wire article over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart. You can find that in the description and the comment section down below. But if you cannot support there or you're already subscribed, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see y'all in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm frozen.